Ladies and gentlemen, we're ready to get started. If you guys in the back can find your seats and we are ready to roll. If you're not finding seats, you are a bad person and people are crying because of it. Oh, wow, you guys are quite real fast. So first of all, you guys can hear me well. Mic's good. We're feeling good. We're ready to roll. We're cooling down a little bit. It's kind of crazy out there. All right. First thing I want to do, a show of hands. Whose first DC Tech meetup is this? It's probably about 100 people or so. All right, cool. All right. So first of all, I'm Corbett 3000, Peter Corbett, one of the co-organizers of DC Tech Meetup. You can find me there if you like. I want to make sure for the new folks you get an understanding of why it is that we do this. So I've done this. This is the 5th time. This is our 5th meetup. We do this to convene technologists, entrepreneurs, investors, and the broader innovation community regularly to learn and share. We want this to push you. We want you to find the people and the resources to literally help you live your dreams. If you're trying to start something up, if you've already started something up, if you need a co-founder, if you need a developer, a designer, an investor, whatever, this is one of the places we hope you'll find that. And we work very hard as volunteers to make this happen. We beg, borrow, and steal sanctuaries. If you've been to 69 synagogues, we're looking for all forms of religious venues. No, I'm kidding. We're trying to keep it equal opportunity. I'm only going to speak for about 2 minutes, and then I'm going to turn it over to Zvi because we've got a lot of awesomeness coming up. So first of all, I know that we have a digital mission from the UK in the room. Where's my UK crew? Where are they? They're the ones that are late. Look at that. They're not even here? Wow. So there's 12 people that are running around the city for about, I think, a week, understanding what it is that we do here in the capital with regard to technology innovation. If you want to add them on Twitter, at Digital Mission, if someone could tell them in the US we like to be on time, especially when they're being called out for their participation. So check them out. They also, I think, digital-mission, excuse me, it's something .org.com. I want to see what they're doing. Tomorrow morning at Affinity Lab, I'll be there with a couple other folks, just talking about entrepreneurship and what have you. So if you're into that, look it up. Some more. Cooley sent me a note, Catherine, somewhere, if you want to talk to her about this, their capital call, right? So there's a big early stage investment opportunity people pitch, they show off their demos, their very early stage stuff. I think the deadline closes like July 29th, yeah, I knew that, July 29th. So check that out. I'll tweet the link later. Everything is pound DC Tech tonight and usually always, so if you want to find any of the follow-up notes and chatter, you'll find it there. Little tease here, there are a bunch of people in the room that have been working on this, and on this map somewhere, there's no X as you can see, there's basically a place that's about to open up, a techie community, and driven by the community, no government support, no anything except for the people that have been working very hard to bring this together. I've been convening folks that have been interested in this to make sure that they can find the right resources. And I believe there's at least literally in hand as of today or tomorrow, something like that. So you'll hear more about that soon. I know there's going to be, should I call out the plus side VC guys up front? Colin and Sean, if you want to talk to them, they've been doing a survey to see who's in demand. Yeah, raise your hand right up here just so you would pull those guys aside. They've been bringing people together. This is going to be a really interesting opportunity for DC. Hopefully as a sort of beta, it will prove that when you bring density to a community like this, you find friction and you find opportunity and more amazingness. And as the co-founder, co-organizer of DC Tech Meetup, I get to take some privileges, so I'm announcing a product launch that we've been working on. So this is called Crowdly. If you go to crowd.ly, you can see what it is. It's a social ad network. And we've been working hard on this for a couple months. We finally put a brand to it and an application behind it. Cost per social engagement, cost per view, cost per fan, cost per tweet, cost per retweet, cost per petition, cost per install on so many different platforms. If this is your kind of thing, check out crowd.ly. Tell me what you think about it. It's a very simple 2-screen thing. There's probably some bugs in it. We literally finished it about, 15 minutes ago. And if you're actually really serious and you're a marketer and need this kind of service, hit the absolutely button, and we'll know that you're actually a priority and we should talk rather than just kind of test something out. Without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Zvi Band, and we're going to go through sports, media, and entertainment.
Cool, how's it going, everyone? So first things first, we want to kind of talk about something new that we've been working on. So we've been working hard, on kind of building these great communities, both through the DC Tech Meetup and Proudly Made in DC and DC Tech Summer, where we had over 500 interns apply for startup jobs in DC. But of course, we realized that there's actually something more that we could do, and that's connect everyone in this room. So if you go today to directory.proudlymadeindc.com or bit.ly/dcpride, you'll hit our directory. And Peter will be tweeting out the link in a moment as well. We're starting a new small network, basically a small community site where we can list everyone, the individual people who are here in DC, and allow you to actually connect one-on-one, see who are the VCs, who are the developers, who are the angels, who are the people in DC that I want to meet and I want to work with. Because we know that as a community, the most important thing is to actually be able to communicate and talk to each other. So without further ado, I want to kind of get started with our program. First things first, I want to invite Mayernick and Sean Glass up on stage. Sean Glass is a local angel and as well as a venture capitalist, and Mike will show you more.
Hello. Great. All right, awesome. Thanks, Zvi. Sean, thanks so much for coming out. It's great to have such an experienced entrepreneur as yourself. You've started a few companies. I wonder how you got started in entrepreneurship, how your first company got started. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
So company specifically number 4, 2 going on right now. And I think it came out for me, everybody has that experience in college or university where they're sitting there and they go, what do I actually want to do? I think I'm still kind of figuring that out. And it was around 2000, so age myself. With the turn of the new millennium, everybody was looking back. There was all these retrospectives, and I picked up a magazine which was kind of the greatest builders of the 20th century. I thought that's pretty interesting. So I was a fan of making really big goals. I was like, you know what? I think rather than a career, I should just try to get into the version of that that's going to come out 100 years from now. I don't know if I'll get there, but I was always interested in starting business, how businesses ran. And so I was at Yale, decided to start an organization that would get together Yale students, alumni, faculty, staff who are interested in entrepreneurship. There's a great history of entrepreneurship at Yale. Nobody really knows about it. So FedEx was founded by Yale grad, Hop, Answering, Real Networks. Now we can add some newer companies to the list. Aardvark out on the West Coast. Facebook's the founding VP of product, the Yale guy, Matt Fuller's GP at Benchmark, etc. Nobody really knew about this. So we started that. Then people together, the guys I pulled together and found that organization, we would throw around a lot of ideas. I think that's even what happens in these meetings. You find a group of people who you like working with that have complementary skill sets. And I think it was just a day we were sitting around and we're like, we need to start something because we have lots of ideas. We talk about starting things. Let's actually take the next step. So we started down that route.
Yeah, it's very cool. We hear from people all the time, every day, that are looking to start companies, but have trouble putting everything together to really get going. Whether that's finding a technical co-founder or finding investors, whatever it is. What sort of advice would you give to people in that stage, like the really early stage, that may represent a lot of people here?
So right at the beginning, essentially you have a bit of an idea. Your idea might just be I want to start a company. And so the beginning stage of any business is really learning oriented. So let's just say you have a specific idea. What you're wanting to figure out is that idea, one, is it essentially worth pursuing? Even before trying to get investment so you can build a product to serve the market through this idea you have, you can find people who are potential customers. You can talk to them. You can find people who may just know the area you're interested in. On the other side, you can start to think about, what resources will I need to be able to build this? And I think people jump the gun in terms of thinking they need financing. That's the most important thing. But when you can look at companies, Webvan from 10 years ago, classic example, I think it ran through $2 billion between venture capital and public market financing, and didn't get anywhere. So I think that the initial stage is to start to really work through the idea. Is the product I'm thinking about, is it going to be useful to customers? If it's useful to customers, is there a way to extract money that's more than what it's going to cost me to deliver the product? I don't know how many of you are familiar with Steve Blank's 4 Steps to a
makes you really want to work with a company? I heard one thought that I really liked. Someone recently, Naval of Venture Hack, said that investors are not necessarily looking to back teams that do everything right, but rather do at least one thing exceptionally well. And I was wondering if you had thoughts on that, or you have your own investment philosophy on when you're like, I just want to back these guys. These guys are awesome.
So I definitely had that case where it's just like, there's a team and I've got to know them. And so there are kind of three things I can talk to that I really look for. And if you meet these three, definitely come talk to me. First the non-team part. I really try to find companies that are playing in two market scenarios. So I think as a company, you can either be creating something that is creating a new market. And sometimes that's misunderstood. So what is a new market? To be a new market is if you call a customer and you say, here's this product I'm going to provide. Often their response is, what's that? When Facebook was launching, so people think like Facebook, well, there's MySpace, there's Friendster. But if you called 1,000 average Americans or citizens of the world, you probably get 900 what's that? So that was a new market, it was a emerging market. They were launching into that. So, but by far the best scenario with the companies is to be really launching into the market. The second scenario is that you can be a low-end disruptor. So it's kind of interesting. Google Plus is almost an attempt to low-end disrupt Facebook. Low-end is generally what you're doing is you're taking something in the existing market, you take out all the costs, right? So cost can be time spent, monetary costs, and by doing so, you're able to pull off customers off of the that are being served by existing solutions, or perhaps couldn't even afford existing solutions. So that's kind of a market side. The alternative to that, where you don't want to get stuck, is a better version of something that's out there. Classic example there of a company that succeeded doing that was Mint. But there's a reason they sold it into a really big name. So team action orientation is the most important. It's like, do you have a great idea? Well, what did you do with it? And generally, the people I've backed who have just been like, I just want to give this person money and see what they do, because they've accomplished so much with so little. There's a company that Novak Biddle's proposed that I invested into called PlaySay. We got Ryan, he had $20,000 in investment and run the company for 18 months, had 30 content distribution deals, and talked the director of PayPal Japan into investing that $20K in a car in Tokyo. So, I mean, it was just like extraordinary. It's like, well, we gave you $250,000, if you do that. So far, he's proven that.
Yeah, very cool.
Sorry.
So I think that's interesting. You mentioned a few recent tech trends. I wonder if we could go through some, just get your thoughts really quickly, quick fire, short or long, on these companies. How do you feel about them? Google Plus, short or long?
I'm long Google Plus.
Yeah. So compared to Facebook, do you think?
I'm short Facebook for a number of reasons, but I think if you look at Facebook, how many of you use more than 10 to 15% of Facebook's functionality? Probably, so there are like a couple hands. So I just think that there's a point where Facebook's going to have a hard time letting go of everything it has. And Google Plus is starting from a core, which is connecting with people and sharing photos, which I think is what people mostly use Facebook.
What about Living Social? Short or long?
Long, because I've met some of the guys there and I'm really impressed with them.
Yeah, me too. Those guys are awesome. What about Quora? That seemed to blow up, and now?
To be determined.
Be determined. What about Shortmail?
I don't know Shortmail.
Okay. Well, they just launched Baltimore-based TechCrunch.
Long because they're close.
There you go. That's the spirit. You all should be long. Everyone that's here.
Generally, you want. So generally, I would say for private companies working really hard, you wouldn't essentially short them. Now, I would short LinkedIn, Pandora, for sure.
Turntable FM. Play with that yet?
I've been talking to a lot of people about that. I went long. It's an interesting way to get people working.
Yeah, it's if you guys haven't checked out Turntable FM, it's really glad we started. So, we don't have much time. I wanted to close on one thing. You're not originally from here. You're sort of new to town. There's been a few companies recently, some that you know well, that have left town to pursue money, maybe to get financing or get a better deal on that financing to go out west. Just wondering if you had any thoughts on, what it's like to be a DC startup, what advantages we have, if we're doing something wrong, what more can we do?
So as I mentioned, I've got 2 startups now, one which I'm an investor, a co-founder, chairman, mentor, and one which I'm the CEO. And they're both here in DC, and actually we're finding it pretty beneficial. I think certain companies benefit by being out of the location. So UI, which is one of the companies that recently has moved out to California, that is the perfect location for them. And I think the other side of it is that DC is the perfect location for a lot of other companies. And so I'm not sure it's right or wrong. I think all the things that are emerging are going to develop DC into a place that's very supportive of startups over a period of time. I mean, I think DC compared to 98% of other cities in the US is better off. But we always tend to look up above us. So we look at Silicon Valley, we look at Boston, we look at New York. And I think we'll get there, and I think we can even surpass them. We have more engineers per capita than any of those cities, or regions. We're actually more engineers than the Valley. It's just a matter of having successful startups. I think living social, as that IPO happens, they've got a great engineering team, there's marketing expertise, people can make money and want to give back. That's going to be super beneficial to the DC area. And hopefully there's a family tree of living social. There is a little bit of Blackboard. There's a little bit from AOL. As those family trees emerge, we'll have this ecosystem which will support even more growth.
Last question for any startups out there. Is there any sector, any type of company you're looking to get involved with? Is there something you want to see presented to you?
So I'm personally less thematic in what I look at, and much more, if you're thinking, if you can say, look, we're building this product, and we're going to create a market, or there's this massive, so the startup I'm working on where I'm CEO is HR software. Huge, I mean, I was just at the US trade show for human resource managers. Absolutely massive market. And we're trying to hammer away at kind of a low-end part of it. So, if you can kind of think about that market scenario and really see how your business fits into that, and how you can, particularly if you can use technology to gain a cost structure advantage, that's really, really interesting to me. And you're dedicated to building a real business. I think too often I run into entrepreneurs who kind of are catching, like it's almost like when you go to Hollywood and everyone wants to be a star actor. I think right now you're seeing with the valuations and some of the prop that there's certainly this kind of like, well, I just want to start this to make money. Well, if you're not passionate about the problem you're solving, when you run into a hard time, you're going to give up quickly. You're not going to iterate into something else. And when it gets hard, you're going to run away. So if you're passionate about the problem you're trying to solve, and you think it's a new market, then I'd love to hear about it.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Sean. You've been a big friend to the startup community here, so Bill, thank you for that. All right, so next up, we've got a panel led by Gruber of Tech Cocktail. So basically, again, we know there's so many great media companies here in DC and around the country, and but we're so lucky to have a few of them up on stage. And just give us a minute to set up, and if all the panelists want to come up and settle themselves, we'll get started.
Great.
All right, so we got an interesting panel here. We've got a spread of a couple different kinds of media companies, both newer and some more established ones that have been around for a while. So I wanted to kick it off. I just want to do quick introductions down the road, kind of talk about what companies they're with and kind of what they do, so you're all clear, and then we can kind of dive into the technology part of it and how media is changing. So first up, I'm Gruber from Tech Cocktail. We're a media company based in DC. We cover tech innovations across the country. We do events, and we have a lot of fun with what we're doing, finding the latest and greatest tech innovations. So.
Hi, I'm Alexis Juneja. I co-founded the Curve Network, and my role these days is to focus on business and strategic development for the company. 2 seconds on the company. Do you want the network? So we are a blog network. We publish under 3 main titles: Curve, which is our real estate, neighborhood, and interior design site; Eater, which is our food, drink, and restaurant site; and Wrapped, which is shopping. We also publish Grid Skipper, which is an urban travel blog. We have sites that cover these topics nationally as well as locally. So here in DC, we have a dc.curve.com and dc.eater.com.
media organization. We started with a print publication. You probably know it. We expanded into books and all sorts of different print editions of that. And then we have a channel, and of course we're in web and apps.
Hi, Jayme Jeff. I'm with Discovery. I think most people are familiar with Discovery Channel, TLC, Animal Planet, our best known networks. I head biz dev and strategy for a new division where we're producing new content and products for tablets and mobile devices.
Hi, I'm Trei Brundrett. I'm the VP of Product and Technology for SB Nation, which is a sports media company that is based out of DC, although we have bloggers all over the country. The company is started as a network of blogs. We have now 300 sports blogs dedicated to every major pro college team, and now we've expanded to where we have regional sites as well, like dc.sbnation.com, sbnation.dc, and a national site, sbnation.com. And we just recently announced that we have kind of expanded beyond sports into consumer tech. A lot of folks left AOL and Engadget, the managing editor, and have joined us to build a new consumer tech site.
So, is this still on? You guys hear me? Okay. So, I want to go back down the road this way and talk about your mission and kind of how you fulfill that mission with technology with the latest and greatest stuff you're doing.
Sure. So our mission is to empower sports fans to have a voice in the media ecosystem, and we did that originally through community giving. We found the best sports bloggers for every team, for every sport. We gave them a platform that was designed for distribution and for high quality community and conversation. And we've kind of expanded that as we've grown, to beyond just individual kind of audiences for teams and sports, to regionals and national, to cover more real-time news. So we build platforms that are designed to kind of support, publishing and distribution of real-time sports news, and kind of plugging into the social distribution stream for that as well.
Great.
So at Discovery, our founder and chairman John Hendricks likes to say that our mission or our objective is to help people satisfy their curiosity. And the company's recently celebrated its 26th anniversary. And obviously fulfilling that mission started in cable, but over the last several years has evolved to a multi-platform strategy. And with this new division, as devices like smartphones and tablets are emerging, we really want to help realize that vision on the latest distribution platforms and devices that people are gravitating towards.
Our mission is to inspire people to care about the planet and the people in it. So that does or doesn't translate to digital easily, but basically, we're not a technology company, so we work with other technologies to sort of to get the best consumer experience in front of our viewers, in front of our users, especially on the web. So what we've actually really found a great example is honestly Facebook, and that's allowed us to reach an audience we probably never would have been able to. And we're posting photographs, we're posting our most important news articles and sort of everything that we're working on and what we're trying to get out to people to get that message across and to get people involved. So that's sort of been an amazing opportunity for us. It's also made us think about how we create our content and sort of conceptualize it, because it's sort of forced us to look at it in terms of a larger ecosystem and how content is really shared and moved across digital space, instead of just like we're going to put up a web page on an environment. So it's actually helped a lot. And that mission is pretty lofty, but when you think about digital and technology as it relates to it, it's allowed us to get that mission and those ideas to a lot more people.
So we try to obsessively chronicle the three verticals that I mentioned: the real estate, food and dining, and shopping and retail, and to do so in a way that makes the reader feel really in the know about all those 3 areas. And so the way we do that with technology, we're primarily website driven. And we publish in a blog format in reverse chronological order. So obviously from a time perspective, the most timely stories, come up first. But we also will use social media quite a bit, so we get things out constantly throughout the day on Twitter, on Facebook, and our readers are a very engaged community that tend to come to our sites multiple times a day and share things across those social media platforms. And then, finally, we also have discussions and comments on our site as well, and that's, I think, important for us, for the people who are coming to our site to feel part of the community as well.
So would you say, I've kind of heard a couple different angles or answers about this next question, but if you could all expand upon it. When you're approaching content, you had mentioned social networks, you mentioned Facebook as a new way to find an audience, you're talking about mobile apps. Do you look at the technology first or the content first, or what comes first, the chicken or the egg?
I think it's a little bit of both, at least where we are right now, but we really are sort of, like I said, Facebook is, and not just Facebook, but sort of, we've also tried implementing open CMS solutions and that kind of thing, and just looking at those different tactics have made us look at how we create that content, and we're trying to look at the content first more, because we're really feeling like all these tools, especially social tools, are letting us as experts come to the table, which we didn't really do before. We were sort of, we've been broadcasting, and now we're able to kind of join the conversation. And it's taken us a while, but we're sort of getting there, and that's just grown immensely recently.
So I think for us, it's definitely an interplay between our editorial and our technology team, and we actually, we've been small, been able to grow, and so we collaborate quite a bit with our editorial team. And so I'm not sure that we think about what's first anymore. We really think about how we work together, and the All-Star game is tonight, and we're just talking about. I kind of forgot that it was tonight because months ago we planned. Put together, what our tools were going to be and what our coverage was going to be and what our ad packages and all these different things. And we worked very closely with our editorial team to figure out what that's going to be and gave them everything that they needed to do what they're going to do. We really feel like that close collaboration, our writers knowing our programmers and knowing our designers and all working together on putting those things together is what a modern media company is all about. So we call it technology-driven media, but I'm not sure that's the best description, but it differentiates kind of how we work from a lot of other folks.
Yeah, Discovery is first and foremost a content company, and so we're not going to invest in an underlying technology platform for the sake of the platform. We invest in technology to get our content to where our audiences are. So cable, obviously, but Facebook as well. We have somewhere between 50 to 75 fan pages that reach, I think it's somewhere around 40 million fans across those different pages. And on the mobile side as well, we've put out 30 apps so far and are now increasing that investment with this new division strictly focused on mobile content.
So I've heard Facebook and mobile. Is that pretty much across the board? Are those the two biggest kind of trends or drivers, new drivers and new audience?
We also invest a lot in organic search and content on our websites. We've got about 15 websites domestically that reach somewhere around 40 plus million uniques a month, 6 billion plus pages a year.
Anybody else want to jump in there? Is there any other products or services that you use that kind of help you find new audience? Okay. Let's talk a little bit about money. You all have to obviously generate revenue. Advertising is most established. Do you want to talk about how you each kind of generate revenue in each of your own kind of niche market?
So we're a media company, right? So we mostly generate revenue through advertising. That's about 90% of our revenues. But we also have a few other we have a marketplace it's essentially classified, so we call it marketplace, but particularly for our New York sites, although we're expanding this nationally to include more real estate listings at our regional sites, our regional initiatives, as well as at the national level. So that will be an additional revenue stream for us. That's small but growing. And then another thing that we do is events. Right now, again, they're primarily but not solely tied to advertising opportunities, but we're doing more and more standalone events and experiences for our readers as well. So those are sort of the three main areas that we're done.
We are as well, if you look at our site, we use a traditional advertising model, but as I'm sure you're faced with everyone, has opened up a whole new source of revenue. We have a handful of paid apps, a handful of unpaid apps. And what we're also sort of finding is we actually just closed an enormous photo contest. So that actually is a really cool thing that we're making revenue off of it, but it's also relevant content that we're putting out there based on what viewers are coming to our site for. It was a travel photo contest that's like even doubly sort of relevant to what we're publishing on the site. And it was really surprising, not surprising, but it was really successful and surprising that so many people engaged with the contest and came. We run 2 large contests every year, and that's sort of amazing because each one grows every year, and you think that people would kind of fatigue of that, but it's become sort of another source for us.
Discovery as a whole, about half of our revenue comes from advertising, the other half comes from cable companies like Comcast, Time Warner Cable. In this new division, which has the small goal of becoming our next billion-dollar business, we're going to be experimenting with a number of different business models to support premium content. So that'll be in the format of premium priced apps. We'll try premium. We're going to try some subscription models as well, and really kind of find where the best fit is for the type of product and content we're delivering and how people want to consume it on different places.
Yeah, we're a media company advertising, but you know what? Like, we're trying to break out of the tyranny of IAB units and media planners just like doing boring stuff and giving us creative, and we work really hard to figure out custom and more integrated campaigns to run across our network that sports fans are really going to actually engage with and enjoy, and that it adds value. Our platform's all about sports fans creating relationships with each other and with the teams and with the writers. And so, what we'll tell brands is it's an opportunity to actually engage in an authentic relationship with sports fans and figure out what that means. And so we're actively working with them to figure out what that means. But it definitely isn't like a medium rectangle. It's events. For March Madness, we did a really cool thing with Samsung in New York, where we had big parties, and that was driven by a big social campaign on Twitter on finding like the best moment during March Madness. And then for EA, for NCAA football, we worked with them. They had this cool thing for their game that there's a lot more tradition in it. And we had all our college writers were kind of sponsored by EA to write a series of posts on what their favorite traditions, and that was just brought to you by EA. And then when you search for EA Sports, like all of that content is what came up in Google, and it still does for the most part. And when you land on those pages, it's got EA branding, but it's really great content, gets you excited, makes you want to play the game because you're all into your team and what college football is all about. And so we integrated a whole kind of function into our platform to be able to execute those campaigns the same way that you would book something through an ad server, because we are betting that IAB units are going to be a thing of the past, and we actually are actively trying to kill them because they're horrible.
That's really interesting. I mean, even Tech Cocktail, we do a lot more editorials and get a lot more requests for that. So I definitely see that being it's not an official unit, but it definitely has a lot higher touch. But I see that being a more interesting way to get the message out than your little ad unit. Okay, so I want to go back down the road again and talk about the most interesting thing you guys are working on or have been working on, just to kind of get everyone kind of sharing a little bit about the latest tech stuff you're too. And then I think we're going to open it up for some questions. So if you're ready, if you have questions, start thinking about them, and that way you can come up to the, is there a mic out there? I don't know. We can maybe just pass the mic and run out there. We can just pass the mic. Okay, good. So,
Sure, I'll start. So most interesting thing we're working on right now in tech is probably our redesign. We've been around since 2004, and from time to time we refresh our sites. I should really call it a refresh as opposed to a redesign. But I mentioned that we're primarily a blog set up in reverse chronological order, as most blogs are. However, there are times in which the content that is most relevant and most pressing isn't necessarily the most recent, and there's certain content that hasn't, that's evergreen in nature. And so we're working, a couple of points of the redesign are to come up with a format that includes the same reverse chronological order, but highlights some more of our evergreen content on our eater site. It'll be things around, where to eat, right? That's pretty useful usually. Or where to eat right now, and things like that, as well as continuing to highlight the conversations that are happening internally on a lot of the posts. We have very, like I mentioned, very active readers, and we want to make sure that those conversations are getting some view front and center on the homepage. And then on the advertising front, to tie it back to that, some of the ad units have changed through the years of what people are interested in. I agree that there's more editorial, but even on the standard sizes, they've changed a little bit, so we're making some edits as well to that.
Again, we're not necessarily working on any major technology, products or anything, but we are working on sort of the larger concept of content community. So we have a photography community that's amazingly vibrant. We're looking to see what the next iteration of that is and exploring what that means in terms of membership and sort of like tying that back to our mission and how we started out, and basically asking ourselves the question, what does it mean to be a member of National Geographic digitally? When you subscribe to National Geographic, when it first started, you got your magazine and you got a membership card, and like that, that's irreplaceable. And like, how do we replicate that digitally? But also, when we're asking folks to contribute photography and writing and video, potentially, hopefully, what is it worth to them to be contributors and viewers, and to also sort of like, what are they getting out of it? But I think that opens it up to sort of all sorts of different revenue models. It opens it up to sort of different advertising models, because we're able to sort of say, this area, this content community is where we're putting, advertising that's content specific, content relevant, that's not, just run a site, awful, ads that replicate. So I don't know, it's kind of cool. Not tech, but tech related.
So we've been really kind of heads down in this new division, focused on getting the first product in our new product line out to launch. And we're aiming to release it in the next few weeks. I'd broadly kind of describe it as, think kind of the Time Life series of books meets Discovery Channel, but kind of reinvented for the iPad. And then Shark Week begins on July 31st, and so we've got some really fun mobile apps that will be released around that time that have some innovative integration between the device and the broadcast.
So I guess almost like 2 years ago, we launched this we developed a new format for covering real-time news called Story Streams, which was kind of designed around this idea that there's an explosion of sources, and the narrative has narratives like rapidly. There's an acceleration of the news cycle, but there weren't really any great formats for doing that. AP would put out a new article each time, something would change. You didn't know what changed. Bloggers would put updates kind of at the bottom. You wouldn't know, wouldn't ping out to like Twitter and Facebook, and so we built this new format for that. And we've been working over the last 2 years kind of evolving that and figuring out kind of the whole editorial newsroom process around kind of iterative storytelling, and the ability to kind of curate and write and pull together all the best content around narratives or stories, rather than like broader topics or a player or just a team. It would be like something more along the lines of this player is going to be traded, or Derek Jeter 3,000 hits kind of stuff. And that's an evolving storyline. So kind of the cool new thing is that right now we're working on being able to follow story streams on Facebook, being able to kind of say, I like this story, and then have the major updates of that story push to your news feed. So we're working with Facebook on how that works now. And then we're about to launch our iPhone app in about 3 weeks. We're crazy busy on that, and being able to follow a story on your phone and have it push the updates to you. So we're really excited about testing those out. It's a lot of experimentation we've been doing, and yeah.
It's been busy. Great, so we're going to do, I think we have about 3 questions we can do. So who's going to be the first brave person? Any questions? Okay, you want to just shout it out and I'll repeat. Shout it out.
My name is Francesca, and this question is for the investigation. How do you create your network of bloggers for the various industries of sports?
How do you create your network of bloggers for the various industries of sports?
So we went out and found, like, we focused on finding really passionate and quality bloggers. And we actually, it wasn't about traffic, it was about people who were committed to writing about their team or writing about their sport. And we started with baseball, and we slowly grew. We were very, very picky. For a long time, we wouldn't start blogs because we couldn't find anybody good to write about it, and we would just continue scouring the internet until we would find people, even if they were great at tweeting about it, we would consider, kind of bringing them in if they were, focused on it. And then, in terms of which sports we went into, we really did that by how mature the blogosphere was around those sports, because that made it was all about where we could find writers. And so, for example, MMA was not a very, UFC. I don't know how many people are familiar with mixed martial arts. It's actually our largest sport on our network. It's huge. There's more people interested in MMA than baseball combined. It took a long time for us to find those people because it wasn't as mature. MLS, same thing. There just aren't as many bloggers. So it just kind of it was as we found talented, committed, passionate sports fans. And we weren't looking for journalists either. We were looking for, our tagline is fan perspective, pro quality. So we wanted that kind of that fan perspective.
All right, next question. There we go. Justin.
Hi, my name is Justin. How does the data or analytics influence content creation and editorial process for you guys in terms of what worked, what to double down?
How do you use data, basically, right? How do you use data and analytics to kind of figure out your editorial process?
Yeah, I can take that. Discovery, we've tried to, Sean mentioned some of the lean startup principles earlier. We've tried to adopt those, albeit in a corporate setting, and designing some of these new apps. And it started very early on, establishing a relationship with about 1,000 iPad owners across the country who were willing to allow us to frequently bother them with questions, starting with very kind of high level, what sorts of topics and sorts of series would you expect from us and that you would like us to cover, and then moving further on into the actual product design process from what should we call the product, what should we be willing to pay for it, and kind of also focus groups reacting to the look and the feel and the design of the product. So we're a very creative company, and so kind of going through this more data-driven process has been a little bit unique, but hopefully will result in a better product.
Just a couple things on data and our editors. So all of our editors use a service called Chartbeat Oh, yeah. Okay, we all use Chartbeat. Anyway, I think our editors view it as their own personal stock page, and they're generally watching it throughout the day. And Chartbeat basically shows how many readers are on your site actively throughout the day, among other data analytics. I know that's what they do at the editorial level. For me, on the business development and strategy side, one of the things I like to do, we just use Google Analytics. And one of the things I like to do is on a monthly basis look through and see who are our biggest linking, who link to us the most, who are not necessarily partners we currently have, and if so, maybe I'll reach out to them and see if they want to form a partnership because they clearly must like our content if they have chosen to link to multiple stories or repeatedly. So just two areas that analytics.
We've definitely used the traditional analytics, and we did you a really huge perspective into like who's coming to your content.
We actually also use search data. I mean, we create content. I mean, there's this whole like stigma around content farms using search data to do that stuff, but in sports, it's actually really predictable what people are looking for and when, because there's this calendar and all these things happen, and like so there's no surprises about that, and like sports editorial has been built around that. Search data is really awesome because it shows us all these different ways that we didn't realize that people, what information they were looking for around those events, and gives us like all sorts of new ideas of ways that we can cover it that we realize a lot of other sports media outlets just don't, and a lot of them are things that fans think about, but like that from like a team perspective or a traditional media perspective, they just don't think about that. Those are things that people are like trying to figure out about the events or how things work or whatever, and we have that expertise to be able to share.
I think we've run out of time, so thank you all for being a part of this